Hello, I'm Lee McGuire, and I'm here with Dr. Doohi Lee talking about sex through the diamond matrix. This is going to be a fun portion.
All right, sex.
Everybody
yes,
has been waiting for this piece right here.
This is the piece de resistance.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, what makes it good, Dr. Lee?
Okay, well, it makes it good because this is the encapsulation of everything. And the reason I put sexual health in the center is because this is the core.
It's everyone's ultimate goal, is what you're saying?
Yes, and it's actually the goal and the driving force. And we're sexual beings, so we have the sexual energy and the natural drive, and biologically we have this reason for creating. So there's one tremendous amount of sexual energy and thought and into what we do, and this really is the basis of us being here on live on Earth, is to procreate and create.
Sure.
Well, I mean, we talked about so many different components of the diamond matrix: nutrition, lifestyle, regenerative medicine, all those kind of things. How they all relate to enhancing your health, number one, and then enhancing your happiness. So think about the idea of sexuality. What is really required in order to actually have a healthy, uplifting, productive, sexual life, as not only in terms of intimacy, but also part of the relationship between, two people. And in order to actually have a good functioning sexuality, you have to have, number one, physical basis. I mean, your body parts have to work. Sure. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to, engage in the whole activity of sex. The other part is emotionally, you have to be connected, not only with yourself, but also with your partner.
That's right.
So there's two important parts that we talk about in the diamond matrix, how all those things have to be in place in order for the sexual health to be optimized and enhanced.
Does the emotional health and the spiritual part tie into any of this?
Oh, I think so. I think
sexually?
Well, for some people, even if you're depressed and upset and anxious, maybe some people can still have sex and whatnot. That's all individual variations. But if for a lot of people who are actually going through this type of emotional difficulties, having sexual intimacy is very difficult. It's very, very hard. From the brain, if your brain is not functioning well, organically you have dysfunction, then that whole sexual intimacy and all those kind of things really kind of fall into place.
It's interesting how each step leads up to these issues, because even erectile dysfunction can sometimes be psychological.
Exactly.
And
often
emotional.
It is. Yes. Often it is. And that actually for young people, you talk about for men, there are different issues, but in a certain intimate situation, they may not be able to function or perform because of the emotional issues. So that, again, ties into the emotional, spiritual health we talked about. And that may tie into health of your brain as an organ that affects, emotionality, And then if you're in bad shape, poor nutrition, or just out of shape physically, you just may not be able to function and perform the way you need to. So everything's all interrelated. So
it's so much easier to see it now as you break everything down to come to all of these things of how all of these things are so important that they work together.
Precisely.
in being balanced.
Yeah, the whole idea of the whole diamond matrix, and the reason I put the sexual health inside, is everything on the outside have to be optimized in order to have optimal sexual functioning and sexual enjoyment and sexual health. But the whole idea really is to enhance that person's health, both internally, physically, and spiritually.
So you're saying it's important that you have a good sexual health for your overall health?
Yes, and I think vice versa. And in order to have good sexual health, you have to have good physical and emotional health. Otherwise, the sexual health does not really come into being.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. It's been really exciting going over each aspect of the diamond matrix. And so we want to explore a little bit deeper into sexual health through the diamond matrix.
So I put this subject actually in the most important position. That's actually in the center of the diamond. And this has to do with sex, actually sexual health. So the sexual health actually goes into the center, it's the core that actually connects and drives everything. And that really is sort of the origin of pretty much everything that we're doing. So I'm going to talk to you about different aspects of sexual health, both from a practical point of view, as well as more of the philosophical point of view, how everything's tied together. So practically, this is something that we deal with, ever since we're born and going all the way up. And this is just part of, who we are as human beings in terms of their gender and all those kind of things. But in the area that I deal with is typically have to do with, as you get a little bit older, having different problems with Sexual functionality. For men, I see patients coming in at various ages. I mean, just depends on your own biology. I've seen men as early as in the 30s, going all the way up to 70s and 80s, with different aspects of dysfunction and from a sexuality point of view. Mostly has to do with erectile dysfunction, but also there are other aspects as well that actually support and kind of augment that problem. For women, it's the other side. It's called menopause. This is something that we've known all about. And typically women in their late 40s, and the 50s, and etc., coming in with problems with hot flashes as the initial onset and progressing through different phases. And once you get through the hot flashes, a lot of women actually start to have a different kind of sexual dysfunction and maybe problems with intercourse, painful intercourse, and a lot of different issues. So that's the sort of basis of the biology and the physiology of sexual dysfunction. So how does this get tied in with other aspects of the diamond matrix? So again, sexual health is in the core. So let's talk about nutrition. Well, I mean, nutrition, as we talked about, is very, very important for actually maintaining the health of your body. And if you're not healthy, you're really not going to be able to have a good functionality. You're just not. Your body's not going to function the way you'd want to. Lifestyle, of course, has to do with fitness and, the actual sex act and all those kind of things that happen. It's actually fairly vigorous, and you want to be in good shape. The physical shape and the overall health of your body will be a very important part to augment and enhance the actual sexual functionality as well. Emotional, spiritual health. We talked about the idea of being centered, having a comfortable sense of who you are and what you are, and the relationship with yourself as well as with others. So if you don't have a solid grounding from an emotional point of view, and obviously you don't have to get into a whole philosophical issue with your sexual partner, but that relationship and the sense of intimacy that you build is tremendously important, and that really is very, very vital and core part of actually having that sexual functionality and make that whole experience as enjoyable and enhanced as possible. The area of regenerative medicine comes in is sort of more as a treatment. There are various different techniques using PRP and stem cells to actually enhance different aspects, more of a philosophical and anatomic region. So for men with erectile dysfunction, there are a lot of techniques abound that use PRP and even stem cells to enhance the actual achieving of erection. A lot of people have erectile dysfunction, and that's a physiological and mechanical problem, and we can actually use cellular medicine and different aspects to actually help regain that potency, and very, very important part of that. It's not just the hormones, it's not just medicine, because we all know about Viagra and other medications out there to help you do this, but those kind of medications are fine, but they also have side effects as well. So if you can actually achieve that sexual function and just achieving potency with cellular medicine, that may be a fantastic thing, because you don't have to worry about taking medications and things like that. The same thing applies to women. There are different techniques using cellular medicine and regenerative medicine technique, starting from hormones and using cellular techniques as well to enhance the women's sexual function as well as enjoyment by enhancing various different aspects of sexual physiology as well as their response. And of course, brain health is tremendously important, because if you really have different aspects of brain dysfunction, be it emotional, be it post-traumatic problems, etc., that can have relationship and association with emotional and spiritual maybe imbalances, and that can also affect sexual function as well. Of course, if you really have tremendous injury to the brain, the whole idea of sexuality and sexual function really becomes much lower in terms of importance. The aesthetics and cosmetics, frankly, most of the reasons we do seek out on optimizing our external appearance and aesthetics, it really is to attract the opposite sex to have a relationship and get the attraction to enhance your sexuality. So there's a complete connection, interconnection between the aesthetics and sexual health. It's really more from an attraction and interrelationship point of view. And of course, there's a subtle tie to emotional, spiritual health as well as lifestyle. Of course, if you can enhance your lifestyle and get into better shape, that'll of course enhance your aesthetics as well. But then there's also a link to being able to perform better sexually as well. So those are all the different aspects, just in a quick nutshell, of the interconnection between all the different aspects of the diamond matrix and the importance of sexual health. Now, let's go a little deeper into the importance of sexual health in another sense. The natural drive of sexuality, which, biologically is for procreation, but of course, beyond that point, it really is part of recreation and enjoyment and feeling and the tying of the intimacy between the two partners. So, but it really is the main driving force. I mean, whether you naturally think about it consciously, but it's mostly subconscious. And it's the subconscious drive that really enhances and interacts with so many other things. If you look at so much of advertising, for instance, look at all the magazines, everything that you're looking at and feel attracted to has something to do with sex. Not necessarily sexual health per se, but the idea of sex. A lot of the fitness magazines, on the cover, you're going to have beautiful, fit models, be it male or female. It doesn't matter. They have to have some sort of sense of fitness and sexuality. All the beauty magazines, Cosmopolitan, Elle, so many other magazines, that the cover is usually of very attractive women in these women's magazines, because that exudes sexuality as well. There are a lot of other magazines that talk about and link to the sexuality in their advertising. A lot of things on TV, a lot of posts on Instagram and Facebook and other social media outlets. There's so much associated with sexuality and attractiveness. And the kind of media influencers that we see, there's so many out there. A lot of that has to do with their activities from not only their real life, but the secondary message underneath it really has to do with the sexuality and sexual interactions that happens in their lives. And that is kind of the voyeurism that they're selling, and that's kind of things that we're tuning in. So there's a lot of subtleties and many layers of this, and not only in terms of maintaining our own sexual health and potency, so to optimize interactions with our intimate partners, but the sort of broader idea of how this radiates beyond ourselves to the greater society. And so much of the industry, both from a nutritional point of view, the health industry, and other aspects of the commerce that's out here in both the United States and around the world, all has to do with enhancing the health and nutrition and emotionality and even cellular medicine, all geared towards, at the basis of it, is to enhance the sexual function. And that really is the part of the attraction that we have. So think about this in terms of the importance of this, why we're here, why the sexuality and the sexual health is at the core, because it really is the central driving force that actually has connections with all the other stuff. And if you actually think about the other aspects, emotional health, lifestyle, and nutrition, and even cellular medicine with regenerative medicine, etc., and if you take any one of these aspects out, not only, of course, you'll distort the diamond matrix, but also if you think about it from a philosophical point of view, you're losing a very important aspect that enhances and strengthens the sexual and sexual health. And if you take the sexual health away, you kind of take out the core energy and the driving force that actually makes all the other parts work. So that's the complete interconnection and the interrelationship between all of these factors. And once, if you actually sit there and look at the diamond matrix and look at all the lines going through to connect all of these, you'll see there's so many different layers of interconnection between all these facets, not only for sexual health, but everything else. And one actually enhances the other, one drives the other, one supports the other. And that really is the core principle behind diamond matrix. So again, kind of think about how you would use this system in your daily life, how you could incorporate these 7 principles, what they are and what they mean to you. And then also think about how the relationship is and the kind of areas that you think, I'm really pretty strong in this area. I'm really good at eating very well, the food, and I don't eat junk food, maybe once in a while, but my food intake is very healthy. I'm, eating very, very good stuff. I exercise fairly regularly, but there are some issues, maybe emotionally, or some things that I'm dealing with. Maybe, I had brain trauma when I was growing up and had sports injuries, or I fell. So maybe my brain is a little, needs to be looked at and evaluated. That may be, affecting my emotionality. So kind of think about how the different aspects of this diamond matrix may fit into your own life. and the different aspects that you might think this is strong, this area is weak. Maybe I need to look at that and enhance this because I got the other areas covered. So this is the idea how you actually use the diamond matrix in a real dynamic fashion and modulate it and enhance it as you need to really optimize your life both inside and outside.